Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of the Microsoft Business IT Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Weston. I put this podcast together to help employees, to help business users and ultimately other business owners to use Microsoft 365 technologies more effectively in their own businesses, so that together we can learn how to work smarter rather than harder by utilising the tools that we already have at our fingertips. In the first few episodes, we've started to investigate some of the ways that we should be using SharePoint and OneDrive to store our files, or even how we should be approaching the whole automation element and some of the key things to think about while we're thinking how to streamline and automate a number of our business processes. Today, we're going to focus on another key piece of the puzzle, which is how we manage our tasks. Because this, certainly for me as a business owner, from where I speak to other business owners, one of the biggest issues that we have are staying on top of the number of tasks, that mountain of tasks that hit us every single day. And ultimately, it always feels like no matter what we do to get to the point where we are getting on top of this big task mountain, then the next load then gets dumped onto us. So in order to address this, really there's two parts to this. We have the people element and we also have the technology element. Now the first thing, and I'm going to speak from a lot of my own experience here, because as a business owner, I get a lot of tasks assigned to me. They are from both people outside of the business, from people inside of the business, from areas that still have a dependency on me. And I need to be able to manage all of these various demands on my time. Now, the key thing we have to remember is there are only 24 hours in a day. No matter what I do, I'm never going to have more time. I can elongate my day so I can start earlier and I can finish later, but that's not what I want to do. I want to be a lot more effective at the way that I manage and approach my tasks. Now, I go through business coaching, and my coach, Lewis Hayden, early on recommended that I read a book called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And this book had quite a big impact on the way that I approach my tasks. Now, the whole concept of what Brian Tracy talks about through this book is how to prioritize your tasks, or as he puts it, how to eat the biggest and ugliest frog first of all. So what he tends to talk about a lot through that process is create a list of all the tasks that you have on your plate, prioritize it in terms of which are the ones that are the most urgent and the most important, but also the ones that you are maybe less looking forward to actually doing, the ones where you will find alternatives to actually doing that task. And let's face it, none of us like doing the things that we don't enjoy. But certainly as a business owner, we have to do it. We have to be able to look at the tasks that we have assigned to us, and the ones that we really don't want to do, generally they're the ones that we have to do. They're the ones that are going to have the biggest impact in the way that we work. So Brian Tracy really talks about prioritizing in terms of what is the biggest and ugliest frog, what is the biggest task, what is the one that we've got the most resistance to go and tackle, and we tackle that one first, and then proceed then through the rest of our day by reprioritizing our tasks in that way. And we see each task through from start to finish, i.e. we try and limit how much we actually context switch during the time that we are performing these tasks. Because again, from my experience as not only a business owner but also as a consultant, one of the biggest ways that I lost time, I think is probably the best way to describe it, is through context switching. Now, I got very good at being able to context switch very quickly. That's the way that my mind works. I can go from one task to the next task with very little transition time. That's not something that everybody can do. Others might take 15 minutes plus. It might take 20 minutes plus to be able to move from one task to another, from one context to another, in order to become productive on that task. So that means that the prioritization and the being strict with ourselves to make sure that we are fulfilling each task as we go is absolutely paramount. So there's an element of looking at the mental side or the personal side of this first of all, that we have to get our mind into the right space to be able to tackle these tasks. Once we've done that, and once we get this process and this approach into our head, and the more we practice it, the more ingrained it becomes, and the more of a day-to-day habit it becomes, and that's the key thing here, we're trying to build the habit, then technology can then be used to support the creation and the management of that habit. And this is where there's a number of tools within Microsoft 365, so we can switch from the people to the technology. Microsoft 365 really helps. There's two real task management tools that we have within Microsoft 365, and I'll also talk about Outlook as well. So we have two key pieces of technology. We have To Do and we have Planner. Now, to bring this into a context, Microsoft To Do is part and parcel of your normal Microsoft 365 licenses. And what this allows us to do is to manage our tasks. And those are tasks that are personal to me. Now, I have a lot of control over what goes in this plan. So my wife, as an example, she loves having a piece of paper with a to-do list for that particular day. And as she goes through through the day, she starts ticking those things off. That's fine, that works for her. For me, I prefer using To Do. I still have the control where I can put my tasks into To Do. It becomes my personal checklist, and then I can be accessing my checklist on any of my devices, whether it's on my desktop, or it's a laptop, or it's my phone, a tablet, or for me, because I'm a complete geek, even on my watch. But ultimately, what this now means is that I have a central place where I can store all of my tasks for that day. And once I've got them in this task list, then some of the things that Brian Tracy spoke about in Eat That Frog, about identifying what you want to achieve in that particular day, being able to prioritize your tasks in terms of what you want to achieve first, and then throughout the rest of the day you reprioritize. I can do all of this in To Do. Because from that one central location, I can see my tasks, I can right click them and I can add them to my day. So I can start to plan out what I want to achieve in that day. And I can move them up and down in terms of the priority list, so that the one that I want to achieve first, my biggest and ugliest frog, gets put at the top, and I tackle that one. And then I do it the second one, and then the third one. Now, this has become part and parcel of my daily routine. Every single morning, I will look at my tasks in To Do, and I will assign them to my day. What do I want to achieve? And I will then prioritize them so that I attack them in the right order. This has been quite a big game changer for me, because it now means that I can start to keep visibility of the tasks that I need to hit, what the deadlines are. So if I've put due dates on them, then I can put some deadlines against them. And I generally do this with all of my tasks now, because it gives me focus on when I need to get things done by. And also any additional information, like a description or maybe a checklist of things that I need to do as part of that task. So it really gives me that control. It gives me that one pane of glass where I can start to really see what I'm going to do in that day. Now, as well as being able to do this, I've had to be very strict around my time management in terms of making sure that I carve out parts of my day to go and actually achieve these tasks. So my default diary also needs to be there in support of all the task management, but that's for a future episode. But with regards to my tasks, I've only really spoken about the tasks that I've got control over, the ones that I'm creating. Now, where else do we get tasks assigned to us from? Well, in my world, I get a huge number of tasks that come through on email. Maybe my email is a task, and I've seen people use their inbox as a to-do list. So if it's in their inbox, there's still an action on there. That's fine if that works for you. I'm going to describe how I approach that in a moment. I can be receiving them from Teams. I can be getting them verbally. So there's a number of different places, a number of different ways that I can get hit up with new tasks. Now, let's tackle the Outlook one to start off with, because let's face it, most of us live our lives in Outlook. As much as I am a sworn enemy of email, it's still a huge part of my life, and Outlook is still a massive time vortex for me that I try and avoid as much as I can, so I have to work more effectively with the other tools that I've got. So the way that I approach this is whenever I have an email that comes through that requires an action, or it's maybe got something that I need to follow up, we have the ability to go and flag emails for follow-up in Outlook. So whether that is from my mail, when I'm actually looking at the message, or when I'm looking at my actual inbox view, I can go and flag them. I can flag them to be followed up by today, tomorrow, by next week, by a custom date. And then ultimately, once I've done that, those emails then get listed in my to-do. I don't have to go and put them in manually. It will do this automatically for me. So now my to-do is now a combination of my personal tasks and also those tasks that are being driven through from the emails. If I have assigned a follow-up by date on those emails, then it will also set the due date. So I can then monitor where I am in terms of what needs to be done today, what needs to be done by tomorrow, and so on. So it's starting to give me a better view of now 2 lots of tasks coming in. If I have tasks coming through Teams chat or through Teams conversations, I can go and bring up the actions or bring up the menu on those chat items. And again, I can create a task from those chat entries. Now, regardless of whether I bring it from Outlook or whether I bring it from Teams, the information that's stored in the email or stored in the message, when I flag them as tasks, will get pulled into to-do, and the description automatically gets assigned the body of the email or the body of the chat. So it gives me the additional context, which means I can then plan it. And also, if I then go and mark one of those as done, I get a lovely little ding if I've got my sound on, which gives me that little buzz every single time. And actually, there's a little bit of psychology behind that that sound, that ring, because it's a very positive sound. So it actually gives us that little bit of an endorphin rush because we've done something good. So actually, it starts to give us that emotional pickup as well. But now I'm starting to see everything in one place and manage it from there. And if I close it in to do, it will go and close it in either Teams or Outlook or wherever I've created those tasks from. But the other area that we really get tasks from, and again, this is particularly potentially from a project type of business, but I use this for managing finance, employees, and everything else as well, is Microsoft Planner. So whereas To Do is a focus tool for my personal tasks, Planner is a tool for managing team level tasks. So for example, in my business, in Vantage 365, we do a lot of consultancy projects, we do a lot of delivery projects. So we then have to go and create task lists. We have to go and put something in Planner where we want to assign the task out to various people. And we can spread those tasks across the entire team, not just to one person. But ultimately, again, because I've got Planner in place, I've got tasks being assigned to me in Planner. Maybe I've got, again, due dates on those tasks to assign back to me. Then what that is going to give us is a view of my tasks that have been assigned in Planner through To Do. So I now see tasks from Outlook, from my personal lists, and now from my projects and from my other areas, my teams, that are now firing through into my one place. Now, once again, I can then start to prioritize. I can assign to my day. I can make sure things get done. And when I close them off, they close them off in the wherever that task has been created. So ultimately, combining To Do it right in the middle with all of these other technologies, Outlook, Teams, Planner, wherever else I want to take my tasks from, even if I've got tasks being assigned to me through automations, you know what? I can now start to get myself organized. I can start to employ or reinforce the habits that I've got through Eat That Frog, the habits that I've started to build manually initially. I'm now applying technology on that to help me achieve it more effectively. I'm now able to work smarter because all of my tasks are being pulled together without me manually having to do it. I can then plan it, I can prioritize it, and ultimately I can then go and achieve it. So that's really the key thing around today. To Do and planner are there for you to be able to manage your tasks. To do from a personal perspective, certainly from a business owner perspective, I can't highlight this technology enough, this application enough. Go and check it out. Go and start using it. It will be a big change for you, and it will be a big change for the positive. But we've got to get those habits in place first of all. I hope that's been useful just to get my insights into task management within Microsoft 365, about how that's affected me, how I run my business, and ultimately how I run my life, but using Microsoft 365 technology to support that. If you have any questions or anything around today's episode, please do feel free to post a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just search for Matt Weston 365, or even on Twitter or X at Matt Weston 365. And you can even contact me at matthew.weston@vantage365.co.uk, and I will happily give you some advice and guidance and some pointers in the right direction. But for now, I hope you all have a great day, enjoy using the technology, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next episode.